like
I think the Rolling
Benny
Stones
Hill
are
show or
terrible.
something.
Like, I'd rather listen to Kesha than the Rolling Stones.
Really?
Oh my God, I think they're just horrible.
But you don't like the Rolling
Oh,
Stones?
they're terrible.
That's on.
They're so inauthentic. They have like
What?
2 good songs, and everything else is trash.
Hot Rocks alone has like 20 songs on it alone.
That
The
all
double
sound like they
album.
should be on the radio. They should be selling mattresses with those
It's
songs.
again. And there we are. That's Public Square, the day before Thanksgiving, the 24th of November, 2021. And this, of course, is the Get Real podcast with Josh Kirnie putting on his headsets right now as we speak. We're actually streaming live on both Facebook and YouTube. I'm Glenn Curry. And what are we here to talk about the day before Thanksgiving? You mentioned earlier, it was kind of funny, that someone actually reached out to you for weight loss the day before Thanksgiving. You thought that was kind of shocking, and this is a busy week. So is it too late to have a weight? Shouldn't you have that discussion after Thanksgiving or not the day before?
Well, the point is that when people are getting ready to face their family, they very rarely take care of themselves the way that people that call for consultations really do. So when they want to, and it's funny, as you were speaking and we were getting ready, someone just reached out to us on Instagram across the country that wanted to do a smoking cessation with me just this morning.
Really?
So people are watching us, Glenn.
That's good. Okay,
so this is how we found it. Today we're going to talk about small talk.
Small talk.
So I want you to notice, and the things that we speak about on here, they all have purpose. And I mean, to one extent or the other, you might find us slipping into just having a regular conversation, but small talk will not help you, and it will not help the person in front of you. So today we're going to talk a bit about that. And we've gone over in the past the ways that we know that you're going to be successful with hypnosis, and those snippets are available on this channel as well.
Okay.
And today we are going to talk about the perils of proving things constantly instead of engaging with folks. So
I don't quite understand. Explain that. That I need some education here.
What makes us all connected, what connects us, one of the many factors that connects all people as being pretty much normal, is the fact that everybody wants to prove something. Mm-hmm. Everybody's looking to make a statement or prove something. And this is just naturally how
it is,
how things are. So when you step away from that and actually speak functionally to somebody and engage with them and connect with them, that's when you really you see progress in many, many different forms.
So there's a mob guy out of Long Island. I forget his name, and he was on Fox. He says, "Well, there's a couple of things. There's a lot of things about the movies in Hollywood that don't make any sense." And he brought that one up. He said, "There's no way a boss would do that to prove himself. That just wouldn't happen." So anyway, just forget the guy's name.
But again, this is Shakespeare. This is better than real life. Now that's how David Chase wrote it. It grew into something that was beyond what actual normal gangsters would be able to comprehend if they didn't open their mind. There's a guy who's online that's really cool. That
stick near the mic. Stick near the microphone. Go ahead.
His name is Michael Francesi, I think.
That's it. That's the guy.
He's cool.
Yeah.
So he was like the first person I encountered online. I don't know any gangsters, but when these people talk, I mean, they idolize all these old guys that have rolled over on their crews and everything. And he's the first one that spoke about all those things as business.
Right.
And he had a business mentality. So he would go through it very, very intellectually. So he's the one who really communicates it like a business. He does say some scary things, but also remember, he gave his life to Christ.
Yeah.
And he's very adamant about that. Mm-hmm. So you can tell there's things he knows he can't say, and he doesn't
That
say
helps
them.
to keep you out of prison.
Yeah.
He wasn't a good guy. None of them are.
Well, see, that's the first one I didn't think, like, when you hear these stories about these people, he's the first one that makes me think that he wasn't in it just to hurt other people. He was actually just making money. Right. And, like, things would happen. I mean, I'm way critical of movies.
Yeah,
so
you are.
We saw 2 movies under the radar back when they actually used to make cinematic movies that were just, I'd never heard of, and they're fantastic. The first one was The Duelist with Harvey Keitel.
Okay.
Which came from a French novel.
Interesting.
And it's a period piece, and it just shows the tenacity and competitive nature of 2 separate soldiers or officers.
Huh.
And Harvey Keitel has to get over, he has to win. So he's constantly challenging this one man. It's what's his name? The Carradine kid. Who was the Carradine that died?
David Carradine.
Yeah, his son, Keith Carradine.
Keith Carradine, yes. Good-looking guy.
Yeah, he was the
good-looking dude.
The actual main character. And that the duels were so realistic looking. I mean, it was just fantastic. And it was a really cool theme. And it was early 19th century France, the Napoleonic era. And then we watched Fire in the Sky, who had 6 actors in it that you would recognize from the 80s and 90s.
Right. I love that.
And the gentleman who was, he's in season 2 of Sopranos. He's the one who's sporting goods store they bust out.
Oh, the guy from the Terminator.
Yeah,
Davey.
Terminator 2. Yeah.
Doing a great job, Davey.
So
reminisce on me.
Yeah, he's in it as the main character, and that is a movie about being completely misunderstood because of the circumstances. It has to do with alien abduction, and the alien abduction in the movie is terrifying.
Really?
Oh,
What's the
my
name of
God.
this movie again?
Fire in the Sky, 1993.
Fire in the Sky.
Point in time with these straight to Netflix movies. Not all of them, almost all of them though.
Right.
It's almost like they had a Chinese AI write the script.
Right.
And then they pay these people to be in it. Like I saw a movie when it first started happening. Vince Vaughn was in it, and it was about. I just thought it would be fun because it was about a brawl in a cell block, and it was him, right? But I mean, everybody else in it was like people that they pulled off the street.
Right.
It was like a super B movie, and at one point he confronts some kind of drug deal for some reason.
Yeah, yeah.
And he falls in the water in this marina, and then somebody throws a grenade in the water, and he puts his boot up and blocks the blast of the grenade.
Oh my
I'm like,
God!
you got to be kidding me! This isn't real.
We're supposed to believe that shit?
Yeah, and it was in the water too. It was just crazy.
Right.
So all these movies are not communicating the point. They're communicating specific points to people that are asleep enough to actually take them in and believe. And nobody that likes cinema will ever sit through these movies and actually give it a chance. I mean, I can't.
I can't either.
I mean, one of the most annoying things I do with Michelle has got to be that I find a movie that I like the picture of, and then I'll put it on, and 6 minutes in, I'm like, this is the worst.
You can't watch it.
I turn it off.
Freaky.
We still only have so much night left.
Crap.
Yeah,
Not gonna happen.
exactly. So what was funny is that like it must drive her nuts because we just want to relax. But I see it as I only have so much time allotted in the evening because I do have to get up early in the morning. So I don't want to waste it with something that sucked. So we got to watch those movies on 2 back-to-back, or pretty much back-to-back nights, and it actually communicated a theme, which is important. More important than any other content is how many structures the message comes through to you. It's a character.
He would be a good Bond villain. I think he'd be a perfect Bond villain.
The enforcer,
Well, he'd
Odd
be
Job.
great. He'd be
I don't want him to talk.
Just instead of
What
having
was that one that they
instead of
had
having a Muslim guy or some Russian guy, get Conor McGregor. He's a fucking villain right there.
Famke Janssen was a villain in one of those Bond movies. She was on a top. And she used to kill people with her legs.
With her legs.
The way she looked back then, I'd be like, I guess I'm going to go this way because you can get on top of me anytime.
Yeah. Who was that again? That was
Famke Janssen. Was that Timothy Dalton? Or was it the other one?
No.
Remington Steele.
No, yeah, it was Pierce Bronson. Kill.
Christopher Walken was a villain.
He was a terrible villain. He shouldn't have been in that movie. And that was one of the worst.
I don't know.
One of the worst. And in one of the few Bond movies that actually takes place in the United States. The other one you just mentioned is Live and Let Die.
Yeah, New Orleans. That one's fun.
Yeah.
Roger Moore's a fun Bond.
Roger Moore.
Goofy. Moonraker was goofy, but
it's the goofiest movie
I believe
ever.
he's attempting to achieve re-entry.
What's Bond doing?
I miss the womanizing Bond, though. In this day and age, they made this current Bond. I mean, he's a great action hero, but they made him such a panty
He's
waste.
a pansy. And,
who wants to know that? I mean, the reason why Bond was fun was because he was a pig.
Right. Here.
Charlie Watts should have been more of a sex symbol than
Charlie
Jagger.
Watts. Jeez, all he needed was a couple of bolts in his neck. And
he's tall. He had a strong jaw.
Yeah,
like
he's an odd guy. I love his music.
Pete Townshend's talent in like one hand is more than the entirety of the lineup of the Rolling Stones.
Wow,
he's just the most brilliant. He wrote all those songs.
He did. He was. Yeah. He also wrote "Boris is a Spider." So
Boris is a Spider is a great Halloween tune.
Boris is a spider.
That was on Dr. Demento when I was a kid.
How can? But he did also. I have a couple of his solo albums from the '80s. "Give Blood" was a great song. What was it? Slim Skirt? No, Slit Skirt was a great song.
So the important thing is about cinema and TV and the cinematic TV, as you love, right? And The Sopranos, and that many people love with Breaking Bad.
Right.
Is that's the key there is the theme in the cinematic TV and actual cinema. Real cinema has narrative pressure, and the reason why movies and shows don't look good to us is because it's got loose ends, it's got holes in it.
Right.
So in narrative pressure, everything has a meaning. So everything in the script and everything that's shot needs needs to have purpose, or else it's not.
Every scene should matter.
Literally every detail of every scene should matter.
And
with a placement in the background.
Right. And when you watch movies like Godfather 2 that we mentioned
Mm-hmm.
earlier, there's a scene, and there's several scenes where and it's a dolly scene. And I say that because they're in a moving car with the Black Hand, and Robert De Niro's character is the young Don Vito.
And he's got the clothes in the
And
back.
he's got the clothes in the back. He surprises them too. He's a famous Italian actor, apparently, who played the Black Hand. And oh, too much violence to me. Whatever. And then he takes him on the cheek.
San Gennaro.
Right? When he slaps him on the face. But there's some scenes where, that scene rather, when we're driving along, and it seems like forever. They must have shot it in the same block, like again and again and again. But it's so seamless. So guys like Coppola, who really knew what the hell they were doing, Lucas, to his credit, the same thing, Spielberg, they, just like, you get artists that create their greatest stuff when they're in their 20s and 30s. And then after that, you don't see their greatness anymore.
That's exactly my point. I was gonna walk into with this, is that it's almost like they're contractually obligated to make more material that they even have to make.
They blew. I mean, I haven't seen a good Steven Spielberg movie. Schindler's List was a fantastic.
I haven't seen that
but
yet.
it was over 20 years ago.
Jaws is one of the best movies.
Jaws
of
is
all
his
time.
best movie. Jaws is clearly his best movie.
It's so good.
And then you get guys like Oliver Stone, and some of the stuff he's created in the last 20 years. He did the World Trade Center.
He went off.
It was terrible.
He went off the rocker.
You look at,
He
and
went
then
off
it's
the
funny
rails.
because when I saw Wall Street for the first time, I didn't really like it. And I can't get I can't get enough of Wall Street. It's one of the best movies ever made. It's just a tremendous movie.
It's so good.
So well done. So indicative of that period, Josh, where every single scene in that movie is important.
Yeah,
every
I believe-
single
you're right.
scene is important. And it's the same old format. It's just like it's watching a 2-hour version of the Love Boat, where you have a lot of vignettes, a lot of stories intertwined, and you go back and forth to all of them. A great soundtrack, great acting, so well written, but no fluff, and that doesn't exist anymore. Right.
Mike Damone is just brilliant.
She'll have Coke with that.
And they
ice.
actually gave him some depth. Even though, he seemed like a son of a bitch, they actually showed how he ended up, being a scared kid. But again, he was like 40 in that movie too.
Yeah, he was.
So I don't want to
Good
check
stuff.
it up to the fact that these guys don't understand art, because you don't get dumber as you get older. That's crazy.
Well,
the other things are important, but you've got to think that there's got to be something to be said for the fact that they had to mortgage something in order to make their early films, and that worked out doubly for whoever was investing in them, because they created a certain product and persona, and then that persona was twisted and used to convey certain messages. Like the Irishman, I think, was an absolute piece of garbage.
It's an abortion.
It's like
it was an abortion, Michael. Brian De Palma, who I don't really like he's okay. He's done great stuff.
Carlito's Way was really good.
He's another example of his best work was right in the beginning. Body Heat, Carrie.
He did Carrie?
He did Carrie. He did other stuff, though. He did some really bad movies.
So, yeah, Oliver
make any
Stone and De
sense, though,
Palma
that scene.
and Woody Allen and Martin Scorsese and even Francis Ford Coppola, Sofia Coppola, I think. So all these directors, I don't know, I can only suspect why they seem to go downhill, but it seems like they're using their persona and their name and their brand and the product that they create just to convey a certain message. The message is pretty clear, that if you look at the timelines of each one of these famous directors, it does go downhill, and there really shouldn't be a reason for that. But it has to come down with the fact that all these messages are marketed. And now it seems like all this social pressure and economic pressure is coming through in art and cinema and TV, and you can't think that that's an accident. So it seems more like their brand has been built, and they all have a certain audience, and you and I both have certain audiences too, Glenn.
Yeah.
And if they want to speak to us, they speak to us through these forms of entertainment. Now that we've been more isolated, we haven't, luckily our country, has a certain history and a legacy that goes back hundreds and hundreds of years, where people, don't take as much shit as they would in other countries and other cultures. And if you see the news and the news that you watch, that you're going to find they're talking about certain things in other countries that we don't know if it's true or not, but it seems like much more oppressive than here. So they've separated us, and they feed us these messages. So the thing is, too, that, more and more, the messages aren't as standard as mentorship and adventure and people discovering themselves, and the tragic life and death of certain Shakespearean characters like Tony Soprano.
Yeah.
I wanted to touch on with small talk.
Yeah.
And when there's no narrative pressure, when there's no actual purpose outside of yourself, when you're discussing things with people, when you don't have a message for somebody else except for what you can prove about yourself, then you are engaging in small talk. Talking about the brand of these directors and these people that create certain cinematic TV shows and movies and any kind of art form that puts forth a message, and how that message is carried forth and used to give certain messages to certain groups of people. Again, we're talking about how there's no such thing as small talk. Everything's actually got a purpose and actually does have a narrative pressure. So if you're not thinking of it, you're just talking about yourself, you're just trying to prove something and you're wasting your time. So here's the thing. We're talking about the arc of each one of these directors, right? We talk about Brian De Palma.
It's Francis Ford Coppola. Steven Spielberg. Scorsese.
So Woody Allen is another New Yorker that has a certain arc, and he had Midsummer Night's Sex Comedy, and he had Sleeper.
Yeah.
And they had Annie Hall, and that was really his peak.
Yeah, 1979.
So he had all these messages, and it was built to cater to our parents' generation. Right. And it was really built into people who expected the finer things in life, or expected to be seen as smarter, right? They wanted to prove something different than people that would maybe watch Scorsese or something like that, right? Like Woody Allen was supposed to be brainy humor, right? What do you have, sour grapes? Whatever works.
Yeah. It's like, I'm so neurotic.
Right. So he did Small Time Crooks with Michael Rappaport and Tracy Ullman.
Right.
And there's this one scene where I'm not going to go through the whole movie, but he's going into a house. He had found fame and fortune with his wife, Tracy Ullman. They split, and she ended up with Hugh Grant. And he wants to steal this piece of art back, right? I think it's a diamond-encrusted cigarette case from Louis XVI or something stupid. Whatever you can think of Woody Allen making ironic and thinking that he thought it was funny.
Right.
And he's going he's a professional thief. He's going to case the house during a big cocktail party in the Upper West Side. And take this $1 million artifact back, right? So he brings a date, of course, so he can have some cover. And I don't know the name of the actress, but she's brilliant because she had to play somebody super, super dumb, right? So she was super airbrained. So she's like, well, Woody, I don't know what to talk about with these people. I don't know these people. He goes, well, just talk about the weather, right?
Just if you're bisexual, you always have a night to go out. You always have a date to have on a weekend. Go ahead.
So he said, just talk about the weather. Yeah. Right? So this is what happens. He goes in, he does his thing. He's all hunched over and like looking around, you know.
Right.
And she walks through with a drink, a saucer, and a napkin. And she just walks over. She looks like a deer in headlights. She's just walking through the party. And people walk up to her and go, hey, I don't think we've met. Hey, my name is Dave. And she goes, tonight, partly cloudy, high of 48. Tomorrow, sunny. Chance of rain. So she goes through the entire weather report with every single person she meets, and that's all she says.
What movie is this again?
Small Time Crooks. It's freaking hilarious. It's the funniest thing I've ever seen.
So
it's so blatantly dumb that it's hilarious, and that's what small talk is like. I never think intellectualism is a good choice.
Really?
Because you drop half the audience.
You do. You really do.
So especially when you think that
most people don't know who he is.
Right. Most people think. I mean. The people you think that it's smart what you're talking about. You're actually just alienating your audience. It's like the woman giving the weather report to everybody who talks to her. And that's what small talk is when you're trying to prove something. Mm-hmm. And that's a very funny way, as you watched it, a very funny way to and an extreme way to give the message that when you speak and when you connect with somebody, there's always a purpose to be. And there's people that do it very well out of the industry and don't realize they're doing it. And there's people that do it for different reasons. We, of course, in hypnosis know that when people have something that they need from us, and that's why they're in front of us, then that's why we give the suggestion we do in the manners that we do it. Mm-hmm. So small talk is evil. There's nothing good about small talk. There's nothing good about boasting. Really? I don't get that.
Why is small talk evil? I don't get that.
Because it's all about the person who's giving the small talk. So they're always trying to prove something. It's just
like me. I know more than you.
Woody Allen, there you go.
Yeah, right.
To take it full circle. You want to be friendly with people. You want to be connected to people, and you want to be able to know that your message has purpose and you're not just being a blowhard.
But the one thing, and then if I could just interject here, the one thing that I've noticed a lot of people do, the guy I work for, Jim Levin, and I can say this because I pick on him all the time. He's a conversation bully. You know what that means? Mm-hmm. That is someone. He's a one-upmanship guy, but it's not just Jim. It's my sister. Everybody I know. It's a New York thing, that's for sure. But it's universal. It's everywhere. You say something. I saw this. Oh, I saw something bigger. Why do we do that, Josh?
I don't know. I just know that people like in his position, I just walk away from it. If you want to contact Glenn, he is on WATN at 5 o'clock, the Live at 5 show.
Right. And right here, we're going to unleash a 6-show episode or series right from this very room called The River, Living the St. Lawrence. Finally, episode 6 after 100 hours is done.
So in the end, and we're looking forward to watching that. I'm going to watch it. I know that. I would suggest you watch it as well.
Yeah, we got to get him to PBS too.
So in the end, remember, your speech, your communication, your connection, your message has purpose. And the reason why you like the things that you do like is because it speaks to you in the same manner.
Right.
So remember, you don't have to prove anything. And it's good to be ordinary. And we love you, and happy Thanksgiving from all of us here at the Get Real podcast and some of us on the Boston Celtics. Kamala Harris, acting President Kamala Harris, who's very attractive.
Thanks for watching Get Real podcast right here overlooking Public Square. There we are. Josh Kirnie, thank you very much.
Have a great Thanksgiving, folks. We love you.
Yeah, instead of having a Muslim guy or some Russian guy, get Conor McGregor. He's a fucking villain right there.